So if I were to tell you the New York Jets scored 32 points on offense, Justin Fields played what might be probably one of the top 3 games of his career. He did not turn the football over. The New York Jets handedly won the total yardage and time of possession battle, keeping the Aaron Rodgers led offense under 300 in total yards. And you lose the damn game. Oh man. Brutal. Brutal, gut-wrenching loss. Now, how to feel about it as a fan, whatever. I don't police that, but I think that Coach Glenn put it fine, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said there's a lot of encouraging things that you hope the team builds on, and there was a lot of really frustrating, unacceptable things that the team needs to fix. And there's no moral victories. That's just about it. The Steelers fans would not feel good if they lost. Mike Tomlin wouldn't feel good if he lost. The Bills Ravens play soon. Whoever loses that game, they will not feel good if they lose. So I don't think it's an exception where Jet fans have to be the only one to clap after a loss. An L is an L. Now, some stink worse than others. In this one, I think there was more positives to take away than most losses, mainly because offense, amazing. And Tanner Engstrand and Justin Fields, really the two, I think, biggest people that impressed. And two of the things you have question marks about coming in. Tanner Engstrand, you had no blueprints of what the heck is he going to do. And yeah, man, I'm not a quarterback. I've said this all offseason. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, at the end of the day, they will be judged by wins and losses eventually, right? With a big enough sample size. That's it. Wins and losses. One stat. Tanner Engstrand and Justin Fields, points. I'm a QB points guy. You score points. You score 32 points. Your QB and your offensive coordinator did their job, right? Justin Fields, he was 16 of 22, and he was 16 of 20 up until that last drive. What were the incompletions? Batted down pass that was almost a pick by a defensive tackle. Pass breakup, 2 pass breakups in the last drive by Jalen Ramsey, and another one where he's throwing it where he's just getting hit. So did he make a bad throw? I'm trying to remember. Did Justin Fields make a throw where he dropped back into a clean pocket and just airmailed it over somebody's head? I don't think he did. That was as good as I could have expected Justin Fields to play. And I know the stat sheet he didn't light it up in terms of yards or whatever, but he threw for almost 10 yards per attempt. He didn't turn the ball over. He scored 3 total touchdowns. He made critical, clutch, stepping up in the pocket, eyes downfield, piss missiles into tight ass windows, multiple times. It was one of those games where if he was not doing that, then we'd come with the excuses that they don't have enough weapons and nobody's open. No, they're open in the NFL if you're willing to make grown man throws. And Justin Fields has made 5, 6 incredible grown man throws. And shout out to guys like Jeremy Ruckert, not part of the Jeremy Ruckert fan club at all. He made a couple really clutch catches on third down. I don't think that there was any drops. The weapons, there wasn't a ton of separators. We knew that besides Garrett Wilson. We knew that going into it. But they pretty much caught everything that was thrown to them. And the pass protection held up very well. I know Highsmith got Olu oversetting. And I know TJ Watt got Membu on a read option. But there were no really oh my gosh, this play was blown up because all 3 offensive linemen all lost their reps like we've seen before. So the offensive line, yeah, this is a game I will rewatch. But they passed the sniff test, right? The offensive line passed the sniff test. Tanner Engstrand, they clearly had a plan and a way to exploit what they thought were weaknesses and of the Steelers defense and strengths of the Jets offense. And it worked. Now there's some things we can nitpick, like a 2-point conversion call here, or use the QB sneak here, and I'll get to that later in the stream. But at the end of the day, that's nitpicking when it comes down to is you score 32 points. You scored 32 points. You had over 100 more yards than the opponent. You killed the time of possession. I really would I have preferred a QB sneak on the to get 1 yard on the 2-point conversion instead of a halfback draw? Sure. Do I love throwing a corner out to a double team Garrett Wilson for the other 2-point conversion instead of just running it with Fields? Not really, but dude, they did their job, man. And Justin Fields actually said that the play where he did the naked boot, that wasn't an actual play they had in their script, but Tanner Engstrand saw something on film in their alignment against the run where he just told Fields straight up, Sandlot style on a whiteboard, hey man, just keep it a naked boot because we like the front of what they've been doing. You're going to be wide open. Dude, Nate Hackett ain't never doing that shit. I'm sorry. So Tanner Engstrand, massive first impression for the offensive coordinator and the quarterback. I think those are the two things that stood out the most in a positive way. Garrett got his. He didn't hang out at the end there. Again, that play to me, Fields maybe could have ran for it, but if you look at the replay, there was guys kind of crashing down. Jalen Ramsey's a really good player. He just put a freaking lick on Garrett Wilson. Like, that's not the one I'm losing sleep over with that one. Breece Hall has the juice. Breece Hall, don't sell your Breece Hall stock too low. He is the most talented running back on this team by a mile. He is more talented than Braylon Allen. I don't know. It's not really an opinion. Like Braylon Allen, what has he done to get all the hype? To be honest, I'm not sure, besides being pretty solid in short yardage. But Breece Hall is obviously, he's the guy with the juice in that running back room, and he had it today over 125 yards from scrimmage. I thought there was some pretty good blocking out of the non-offensive linemen too. Again, that's stuff that like we can rewatch this game and we'll see. But I didn't see a lot of plays blown up due to, oh my gosh, whiff block by tight end, or even Tyler Johnson definitely cracking down. Like they used him in motion on crackdown blocks, and he did a really good job with that. No Allen Lazard today. He was inactive, so that's why we were able to have no drops. I think he might be cut. Maybe they just wanted to keep him from going back to the Steelers and spilling the playbook or whatever. Any major complaints on offense, especially because after that fullback, after the halfback, dive from shotgun didn't work, they didn't go back to it. That the next time they needed to punch in from the goal line, they did that QB sneak to score with Fields from 2 out, and they did the QB naked boot to score. So they didn't go back to it after it failed. So I don't offensively, they scored 32 points. I don't know what else to say about the offense. The kicker, oh no, he missed an extra point by about 5 yards. Again, I don't mind going for 2 to get a yard, but if you're going to go get a yard, don't do a halfback draw, because a halfback draw, you're going to get that from 2 yards. That's going to be good from 2 yards or 1 yard. Do a QB tush push where the discrepancy between 2 yards or 1 yard actually matters. Because if you feel like you can pop a halfback dive at a gun, those are either it all lines up and it's a walk-in touchdown, or it's blown up in the backfield. So that part didn't really make any sense to me. But offense, no, but Folk, obviously shanked an extra point, which he only missed one last year. So missing his first was a little dicey. And then the one from 51, to be honest, if the Jets were able to get to the 35, 38 yard line at the end of that game, were you feeling confident that he was going to put one in for the win? I wasn't. So we'll keep an eye on that. A little bit of the Greg Zuerlein heebie-jeebies up my spine when he shanked that kick. But offense, 32 points. QB and OC, that is their stat. Points, 32 of them. That should be enough to win games. Did the Jets lose any games last year where they scored 32 points or more? I doubt they did. Now, why did they lose? We can go, there's about 10 different plays that we can replay in our mind, but we know it's because Xavier Gibson has no reason to be on this team. And if we are to be a serious team, and if Aaron Glenn is to preach, he's going to walk what he talks, which I think he will. I think this is going to happen. Xavier Gibson should never touch a football in a New York Jet uniform again. And that is not an overreaction to me. That is unequivocally not an overreaction, because it's not his first game. It's not his first game. He had 9 fumbles coming into this game as a kick returner in 3 years. 9 fumbles. He had 2 today. What do you mean 2? You might have forgot. He actually had a decent kick return. I believe it was in the first half. Before the whistle is blown, he falls down and he places the ball down. Thankfully, Marcelino McCrary Ball, who was actually an ace on special teams in this game, had the heads up play to dive on it. He had 4 kick returns in this game. 50% of them, he fumbled. He always looks uncomfortable handling the football. Like, damn. And the pregame show, my pregame show, I was like, this is Mike Tomlin's game plan. This is Mike Tomlin's game plan. I will leak it to you right now. I gave it to you 72 hours in advance. He's going to sit there like this. He's going to wait you out. And he's going to say, show me you're the New York Jets. Boom, there it is. Teams that don't do that and win these games go to the playoffs, and teams that do that and don't their ass goes home, man. That's how this league goes. So he's got to be gone. Like an Xavier Gipson is not allowed to be on a Mike Tomlin coach team. He's not allowed. It's not something that's tolerated. And Aaron Glenn said, if you're going to be causing us to lose games, you're not going to be on the field with us. How can I even be mad at Gipson anymore? We know what he is. He fumbles. I'd probably fumble if I got hit by an NFL player. I'd probably be dead in the hospital. It's not his fault anymore. I can't be mad at him. It is the people in charge who have information that he has 9 fumbles. And it's not something like, oh my gosh, quarterback or left tackle. It's not some scarce thing that you can't easily find a returner who can just catch the ball and not fumble it. So I don't know if it's practice squad, whatever they want to do with Gipson, but he can, in no uncertain terms, touch a football. Preferably anything brown or even in a elonged oval shape. He should never touch one again in a uniform for the New York Jets. That is first things first. It's so easy. You call up Pritchett, and then that's that. That's that with Gipson, because everything else, every other part of this game just feels like so, and it pales in comparison to that. It's a 14-point swing, man. And you look up, they have 34 points. They don't even have 300 yards of offense because of that turnover and the Jets defense being bad in the red zone. So now let's talk about the defense. The defense, I thought that actually the defensive front 6, really, because you're a nickel. Pritchett isn't fixing shit. Dude, they are 1-0 if Pritchett is the kick returner. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? They are 1-0 if Pritchett is the kick returner today. So what you're saying doesn't make any sense. He fixes this game. You're 1-0. What do you mean? You're crazy. Anyway, the just can Pritchett fumble on less than 50% of his kick returns? If yes, then he fixes things and you win this game. Not having the biggest liability of hands as your primary returner doesn't fix anything. All right, man. Whatever. But the front 6 in the defensive line and the linebackers, I actually thought played well, even though the defense gave up so many points. All the issues were in the secondary, man. Like, Will McDonald had 2 sacks. Jermaine Johnson had a sack. Quinn Williams played well. Jamie Sherwood played well. Quincy Williams' dumb ass penalty that led to a touchdown drive. Like, just don't do it, man. But overall, Quincy had a good game. I think all those guys played pretty much up to expectations. I thought Briggs got some reps, and he was pretty good against the run. And then Sauce was following DK Metcalf. And where did Metcalf's yards come from? Like, not winning one-on-one reps against Sauce, unless I'm forgetting one. But it was a lot of miscommunications. He's wide open on a mesh because they don't pass over the coverage. He catches a pass in the flat, and Tony Adams misses a tackle. Those 2 long catches and runs were like more than half of DK Metcalf's yards. But every player in the secondary who was not named Sauce Gardner was horrid in this game. And Brandon Stephens, look, the thing about Stephens is he's not a rookie. So I'm not buying this like, oh, it's just one game. Okay, really, let's find out. How many games is it? How many games has Brandon Stephens played in the NFL? Because it's a number greater than 1. He started, this was his 49th start. He's been bad. They knew he was bad when they signed him. They said, we're going to sign a bad player. We know he's bad. Everyone knows he's bad. And we're going to hope that we can make him good. And we're like, all right. Aaron Glenn was a former all-pro corner. Like, well, hopefully they could fix him, right? Dude, it wasn't even just that he gave up yards or whatever. He was falling all over the ground. It looked like he never played football before. And honestly, he committed pass interference on that last drive where really the Steelers should have been able to just run out the clock and kick a field goal because that was DPI. And that was in addition to the other defensive pass interference he had that was just to save a touchdown because he got cooked before that. He brought some physicality as a tackler, but like, I mean, if you're Josh Allen and the Bills, you're looking at this secondary and you're like, I don't know, as a Jet fan, it's like, how are we preventing Josh Allen and the Bills? How are we keeping them under 27, 30 points with the secondary playing like that? Now, the good news is you did draft players in the 3rd and 4th round at some positions that were mightily struggling today. Stevens, he'll probably get a little bit of a long leash because he's got guaranteed money for 2 years. So he's gonna be paid. He's gonna be paid starter corner money on the Jets for 2 seasons. So they're probably gonna give him a little bit of a longer rope. Tony Adams, to me, you should be done with because I think you draft Malachi Moore with the understanding that sooner rather than later he's going to be a starting safety over Tony Adams. Tony Adams is a stopgap player on a 1-year, $3 million deal. So just make Tony Adams again. Like what? How is this an overreaction to one game when I've seen Tony Adams for 3 years now. He can't figure out how to take angles and make tackles. So if we're going to have crucial mistakes in our secondary, have the mistakes be made by a rookie who's going to be here for the next 4 years and then have him get those reps. Because Tony Adams was horrid and Brandon Stevens was bad. Michael Carter was bad in this game, but guess what? We have evidence that Michael Carter is a good football player, so I'm not going to overreact to that too much. But Stevens and Tony Adams, it's like, dude, it was so bad. It was so bad from those two. Yeah, because you really, truly, I really think a lot of the players on defense actually individually had good games, but from a coaching perspective, Arthur Smith outcoached, and along with Aaron Rodgers, who's an extension of the coaching staff, just outcoached and executed our defensive coaches. And I thought it was our offensive coaches and Justin Fields who got the better of the Steelers in their defense. So it's kind of completely inverted how the game went. I thought it was going to be more low scoring. Yeah, I mean, the offensive tackles, your two bookend tackles look really damn good in a early showing. I know they gave some help to Membu with Watt, but I was still waiting for that one big like blow up JJ Watt play, forced fumble, or TJ Watt rather. And it never happened. So I'm gonna guess that Olu held his own. It's tough to judge O-line on the first watch, but I'll say this: the Olu Fashanu run blocking film is gonna be beautiful, man, because he was kicking some ass over there on that left side. That's where they were going away from Watt. And now we got the Bills coming to town, and that's I don't know. The defensive showing, I'm having a hard time having some confidence, but it really was a few players that just kept getting picked on by the Steelers. Yeah, I'd rather see Malachi Moore and AZ Thomas than either of them. Agreed than Tony Adams and Brandon Stevens, 100%. Gibson is a psyop. Well, you know what's crazy, UConn Jet, is the Jets scored 32 points and they didn't have the wide receiver 2. Remember the wide receiver 2? They scored 32 points and they didn't sign Amari Cooper just for him to retire 5 days later. Yeah, man. But it's just such a kick to the nuts to waste an offensive performance and a quarterback performance like that. And I don't care. I do not doing anyone who's going to tell me that because Justin Fields only completed 16 passes for so many yards that he didn't play good. If you didn't watch the game, then why are you in a stream talking about the game? Justin Fields was awesome in this game. He was awesome. And the numbers that we actually use that are numbers that have been invented past 1978 to actually judge quarterback efficiency are going to bear that out. Like total EPA, 13.7. 13.7 EPA in this game. Completion percentage, 76. Completion percentage over expected, 10.4. Bro. Come on. He was money. Dude, he was money. Damn it. Rucker was very good, big blocks. I'll take your word on the blocks, but I know that Rucker made 2 really incredible third down contested catches that I straight up did not think was possible that he could do. I think Mason Taylor only had that one on the play action. Well, look, if they're going with Ruck over him, as long as whoever they're playing is doing well, then who cares? Right? Yeah, Mason Taylor had 1 for 20. Reynolds, Rucker, Tyler Johnson, Breece Hall with 2 apiece. Garrett Wilson, 7 for 95 and a beautiful touchdown. Breece Hall had a good game, but we're always talking about him leaving next year. Well, that's a next year issue, right? Yeah, Geno Smith lit New England up. Yeah, we were spoiled by. We had 2 great hate watch opportunities. Dolphins get packed up by Daniel Jones. And the New England Patriots choke one away. Hopefully the Bills lose tonight. Sean says 32 points on a Steelers D is cool. Tony Adams and Gibson are yeah, I mean statistically now it's not really worth anything because year to year there's some fluctuation, but based on last year's defenses, this Steelers defense was the best on the Jets schedule. I think they were second in DVOA last year, and they added some players. They added Slay and Ramsey. So it's one of the better defenses they'll play. And they scored enough points to win. Salah would have lost. Well, we'll find out if Glenn is different from Salah because, well, that was the bet. Well, we'll see if Gibson is still the punt returner, right? We'll see if Gibson is still the punt returner. Are there actually repercussions? Clemens and Gibson not being on the team. Yeah, I mean, there were some Clemens pass rush reps where it was looking pretty, rough, man. But I don't know how many snaps Jermaine played, but he looked pretty good. So hopefully Jermaine is good to go sooner rather than later. This is a new era. We finally have a competent coach. Amazing game. It might take a few games for RD to come together. I truly wish that could be my takeaway, but it's like we lost the game because players who we knew were incompetent. And now you're going to be like a touchdown underdog to the Bills. I liked that we had some offense, man. The Jet fan in me, I'd rather lose that way than lose whatever 12-10 like we normally do. But it's an L. Again, it's like a fart. Yeah, some farts are worse than others, but I would still prefer it didn't happen. You know what I mean? It is a new era though, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully they could build on some offensive momentum. I think it's going to take some time to kind of get the QB keep or give to the running backs. I think there was actually even some meat left on the bone with a couple of those where it's like should have maybe kept it or handed it off. So maybe the running game could even take it up to another level. And defensively, I just think it's going to have to come down to some personnel changes on the back end. I just think there's a couple of spots where teams are going to pick on. And if teams have competent enough quarterbacks and coaches, they're going to be able to do it. You know, like when we face the Saints, they'll probably be fine if your defensive front is good enough. But, you know, we're facing the Bills and the Bucks coming up, and those are teams that can probably exploit those things. This coaching staff, especially the OC, is so much better than the last group. Tanner Angstrom is already better than Nate Hackett and Todd Downing. That I will not push back on for sure. For sure. How did Membu do? Dude, I mean, I can't say for sure he did how well he did or didn't do, but obviously when you don't I mean, how many were they sacked once? If you give up one sack and you run the ball for a gazillion yards and you score 32 points, I'm going to guess that most of your offensive linemen did at least okay, right? I know Olu was doing really well in the run game because there were just so many opportunities of snaps to watch going that way. I'm going to guess Membo did fine. He definitely wasn't a liability. It's obvious when an offensive lineman is doing terrible, all right? He didn't commit any penalties. I don't think he allowed a sack. So he definitely avoided the if you were fearing a trouncing by TJ Watt, that didn't quite happen. Yeah, with Gibson. It's funny too because Jet fans were very rarely 100% aligned on things. Gibson was pretty unanimous. Gibson was pretty unanimous, man. We're all like, what WTF, man? Fields needs to emphasize late hits on him like Ramsey did against Simpsons. Needs to emphasize it? I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, I mean, there was a textbook roughing call that wasn't called on Ramsey on Fields, but to be honest, the Jets did get a couple of breaks. I thought the low block on Ramsey was kind of BS. He's trying to make a tackle, a guy's in his way, and I thought that Stevens got away with DPI on the last play of the game. So I can't really, I can't really get mad about that. Like, you just got to not fumble. Why should it take time to start getting wins? Well, it's not even like that, man, because it's not even like, oh, the offensive line needs time to gel and Fields needs to learn the playbook. It's like, no, you scored 32 points. Just don't fumble the ball. Just don't fumble the ball, man. That's what's annoying, man. It's almost more annoying than if they just kicked our ass. Almost, truly. Like, gosh. Only time will tell if this was an unlucky loss due to a few boneheaded mistakes or that's just the identity of the team. Well, the identity of the offense is pretty clear in that they did pretty well with that. Even defensively, like in terms of just a couple of things, a couple of coaching points that I thought they did were smart. Number one, they had Sauce Gardner travel with DK Metcalf. Yes, you pay a corner $28 million a year. You put him on the other team's best receiver, especially a team like Pittsburgh, where the gap between their top receiver and their second receiver is pretty big. So cool. Secondly, in almost all of their careers, Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald is lined up over right tackle, Jermaine over left tackle for the most part. But I'm going to guess that Aaron Glenn rewatched the Steelers Jets game last year and saw Will McDonald destroy Broderick Jones. And he said, I'm going to get that matchup. And that matchup got him 2 sacks. So that's cool. I like that. But defensively, there was just too many like missed assignments on the back end. Not a ton of missed tackles. Like there was a couple of bad angles that led to explosives in the first half, but there wasn't a bunch of I'm just throwing a shoulder and not doing like just bouncing off of 3 guys type of missed tackle stuff. Yeah, it's um some of the penalties I don't know, what was it? Simpson's just having his QBs back. I don't really get mad at that. The Quincy one he can't do, but Quincy's always good for one of those a year. He's always good for one of those a year. So you got yours out of the way early, Quincy, so don't do it again. Other than that, though, I don't think in terms of penalty yardage, it was that high of a penalized afternoon for the Jets. Let's look at team stats. Yeah, Jets total yards 394 to 21. Yards per play 6.4 to 5. First downs 23 to 19. Better third down conversion efficiency. Less sacks allowed. That fumble. Okay, so they had 7 penalties accepted for 74 yards. That's too many. The Steelers had 4 for 26. So that actually was a little bit a tilting factor. Time of possession 34. Oh, and I forgot with Stevens, Aaron Rodgers says, "Here's the game. You want it?" And Stevens is like, "Nope." Just drops the ball. Michael Carter a drop pick as well. 2 drop picks in the second half. It's tough. Especially the Stevens one. It was the fourth quarter that would have won the game if he just caught it. I know he was kind of on his ass and he was reaching up, but it's like, dude, I don't catch the ball, man. He's throwing it right to you. O-line coaching on point. Yes, I'd have absolutely agree with that. Phil's is really good. So really good. Silver lining. Yes, I would agree with that as well. How many times did we blitz? I didn't feel like a lot. I'm scared for Josh Allen though. They definitely blitzed on whenever they had a third down and obvious passing situation. They blitzed more often than not. And they had what they have 4 sacks. Yeah, that's a solid day. 4 sacks is a solid day. If you average 4 sacks a game, you're gonna be the number 1 or number 2 team in the NFL in sacks. That's 68 sacks on a season. That would be the most sacks in Jets franchise history if they have 4 every game. Fields late hit, intentional grounding, no calls. Yep, those are 2 obvious missed calls in the first half, but I honestly think the Jets got a couple of breaks in the second half, and when you make that many mistakes, it's hard to get too mad about the officiating. Unless they were going to call that chop block on Garrett. But once that went the other way, it's like, all right. Why would an OC call an over the middle pass with a minute left on the clock? I mean, well, because in those situations, teams are guarding the sidelines so extensively, like you have to gain yards. The Jets didn't lose because they ran out of time. You know, with the new kickoff rules, what do you get the ball at the 35 to give your field goal kicker a shot? You got to get to the other team's 40. So you have to gain 25 yards. And when they got the ball, they had 50 something seconds left and a timeout. That's enough time to get 25 yards. They just were not able to make the plays. The Steelers defense made some good plays. Imagine we still had ABT. Yeah, I know. It sucks. This game demonstrated why Jet fans are constantly smarter than the front office. Number 1, Jet fans question the signing of Brandon Stevens, who was repeatedly burned throughout the day. Dude, you can't tell me it's one game or it's an overreaction with Stevens, with certain things. Now, if it's a rookie, like if Armand Membu had a bad game, I don't think he did, but if he had a bad game and we were saying, oh my gosh, he's a bust, that's a crazy overreaction, right? Brandon Stevens has played 50 games in this league. He gave up the most amount of yards that a corner has ever given up last year since they started tracking the stat. So it's gaslighting to tell someone that it's only one game with Stevens. He's been horrid for a long time, and it's what it is. It's like you got that one cousin you see at the family reunion. He smells a little bit like skunk. He asks you for money. It's like, oh man, he was just down on his luck. It was one bad day. It's like, bro, I've known you 10 years. That's always who you are. It's gaslighting. No Brandon Stevens gaslighting. No Tony Adams gaslighting. No Xavier Gibson gaslighting. They got to go. Everyone else, we'll deal with some lumps. We honestly, we didn't even get any of that. Did Mason Taylor make a mistake? No. Armand Membu didn't really make any big mistakes that I can think of. Even Tanner Ingstrand, like a couple of play calls, but again, 32 points, man. Tanner Ingstrand, Justin Fields' biggest stock up, I would say. How bad is Nwamu's injury? That guy gets hurt a lot for a special teamer, doesn't he? I don't know yet. Olu gave up the only sack. Correct. Yeah, the Jets gave there was one sack. So they gave up one sack. I was really impressed with Fields' movement in the pocket because sometimes quarterbacks sack themselves. He didn't even do that. The sack that he did have was just an immediate win by Highsmith by Fashanu, and he was sacked. So Breece Hall, 4.5 yards a carry, and the second leading receiver on the team. So yeah, Breece Hall is a really good weapon. I'm glad we didn't trade Breece Hall for a conditional 5th-round pick. How many? So he had 145 total yards, 19 yards per catch, 5.6 yards per carry. Yeah, Breece Hall was the most efficient weapon on the day. Membu gave up a quarterback hit to TJ Watt. I mean, yeah, well, there is definitely going to be one of those in the mix, but I don't think that's kind of a given that at least one of those is going to happen, right? I want to see more of Arian Smith. Yeah, the thing about it, I would like to as well, just because there's definitely a lack of speed in separating with the weapons right now. But to be honest, the receivers pretty much, all the pass catchers pretty much caught everything that was thrown to them. Why not play Davis instead of Gibson on kicker? Yeah, I agree. I agree. See, this would only work if Fields played really well, and I know a lot of Jet fans are really hoping and getting a hard on for Rodgers to stick it to their alleged favorite team. And Rodgers played well because QB points. His offense scored 34 points. He played very well. Fields played very well. So that would only kind of work if it's like, oh my gosh, Fields is horrible. We only scored 9 points, and Aaron Rodgers cooked us up. But I know there's a good portion of the Jet fan base who really was hoping for the opportunity to carry on with that. But he didn't quite get it. You got it because the team lost. So congratulations, but not quite all the icing on the cake that you were hoping for there. So maybe next week you'll get that. I didn't agree with either of the first downs, and there was a bad spot in the second quarter. Yeah, well, there was a play where there was definitely a play where Breece Hall got a first down. They just like marked it a half yard short. Like, all right. But I think there's something going on here. I like the way that this team carries itself. We got off to a slow, sloppy start under Saleh. Yeah, I think I think it just happened on defense. Like, yeah, of course, under last year's staff, I mean, of course, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. We had 2 top 20 receivers and a Hall of Fame quarterback, and we scored less points than Andy Dalton's Panthers. Did we break the Andy Dalton line in this game? We did. We broke the Andy Dalton line by a good margin. Yeah, 4 sacks again. If you're telling me going into this game that Fields completes 73% of his passes, has 3 total touchdowns, no turnovers. The Jets outgained the Steelers by over 100 yards. Time of possession 60-40. Steelers have under 300 yards of offense. Jets are better on third down. Jets have more sacks than the Steelers. It really comes down to the fumble and the penalties, and then the secondary play being bad. But it's just the Jets always seem to be part of those games where it's like, and I don't know if there was a stat tweeted out about this individual game, but they're always part of those games where it's like the Jets are the first team since 1973 to win the time of possession and have 3 touchdowns and do like X, Y, and Z and lose. And it felt like that game. That's why people, when it's like, yeah, but the offense, but the points, it's way different. It's like, yes, but at the same time, dude, it's like why did I know in my soul they were going to lose in the fourth quarter? Like until that changes, until that changes, that's what I'm looking for with this team. I knew once Gibson fumbled that, and I will credit the Jets team though, because I thought I was like, oh my gosh, are they going to implode? Is there going to be a pick and they're going to end up losing by like 17? And then we're going to say, well, it was close up until what? No, they marched right back down there and got the lead back. That was a great response by the offense. And some resiliency by the team in general. But it's just I knew they were going to lose. Why? Why did I know that? I want to not know that anymore. That's what I want to know with this team. I want to unlearn that. Maybe it's us. Maybe our energy impacts the play on the team. We got cooked on their play action. That's actually a good call. I would actually say yes, probably on their plays where they ran play action. I bet you their success was much higher. That's a good catch. Something they'll have to look into for the defensive coaching staff. Membo had a great game. Okay, cool. We lost give a boneheaded fumble and a 60-yard field goal. The Steelers are a top team. Are they a top team? They're a good team. They're a good team for sure. Yeah, we all have that cousin. That I don't know why that gets my goat more than anything in sports, where it's like it was one game. For some guys, yes. Like Aaron Glenn and the defensive coaching staff, it was their first game together. We'll see how they can make some adjustments and fix some stuff. If any rookies made some mistakes, not that I know that they did, it's one game. It is not one game for Brandon Stevens. It is not one game for Tony Adams. It is not one game for Xavier Gibson, and it's not one game for me or you. And judging by the YouTube demographics, the average watcher of this channel is like 17.5 years older than me. It's not one game to us, man. I have seen that game. Now, maybe not as explosive on offense. I have seen some version of that game 100 times. It's not one game. Ruckert even contributed. He did. If we got the win, well, I'll tell you what, man. Lamar Jackson. Come on, man. Lamar Jackson, give it to the Bills, and then somehow miraculously find a way to beat the Bills and then be in first place by week 2. I can't believe we're heading into the Bills game, and I'm like, yeah, I think our offense can score like 27 points, but I don't know if our defense can hold Josh Allen under 30. I can't believe I'm probably an overreaction on both ends, but I don't know, because the way the Jets scored, it wasn't super gimmicky that you're just going to be able to do one thing and scheme against it. Like Fields was making insane tight window throws. And look, I was a proponent of the Jets signing Fields, but I'll be very blunt on how I worded it. I thought Fields was the least bad option for the Jets. He's young, he's got talent. You can lean into the running game. He's the only player available who has some sort of shot to be a medium to long term answer. Now, this game isn't a referendum on him one way or the other, even if he played horrible. Like it's, whatever. It's his first game on the Jets. But like, I think if I were to take a lie detector test, I don't think I would have thought Fields would even have one game that good for the whole season, to be honest. So to get that, now maybe you're like, hey, that's just who he is. He's finally clicked with the right coaching, right protection, and that's just who he is. And now we have a freaking quarterback. And then we'll look back at this, and it was just some guy crying in his spare bedroom, even though it was the first time we had a quarterback in Harvard. I hope that's how it ages. But there's also that part of me that feels like, how many weeks are we going to score 32 points? How many weeks is Jeremy Rucker going to make acrobatic diving contested catches? How many weeks is Justin Fields going to throw thread and needles all game long? And you got one and you couldn't get a W. So there's two ways that you could look at that, right? We lost because our head coach got out coached. I mean, not in the game. If you want to say we got out coached because he decided that Xavier Gibson should be his punt returner, but did Mike? Okay, is Mike Tomlin a better head coach than Aaron Glenn? Yeah, of course. Aaron Glenn has one game as a head coach. Mike Tomlin's going to the Hall of Fame. Did you really look at this game and you thought it was a referendum on, oh my gosh, one coaching staff would just completely outperform the other? I really don't think so. It was a 2-point game. Yeah, that needs to be scrapped. The shotgun dives from dude, it makes I don't care. I know that's a play call that works for them in general. It can work. It can work. It can work if the defense anticipates that you could also throw it deep. But if you're on the 1 yard line, there is no threat of that. So the defense is going to be, and now you're handing the ball off to a running back. You have 1 yard to gain, and you're going to hand the ball off to your running back 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. You're going to tell your running back, and now it's not even from a running start. If you go under center and you would do a halfback dive, your running back takes 2-3 steps, then gets the ball and is going forward. Now you're taking a running back still footed and says you have to go straight and get 4 yards to actually gain 1 yard. That is stupid. It's especially stupid if you have a quarterback who can do a QB sneak. Now, if it's 2.5, 3 yards, maybe you can't do the QB sneak at any time. This team has 1.5 yards or less to gain. They need to do a quarterback sneak. It will have a 95% success rate. That's it. No read option, pulling it out with field. Like, just do the thing that's going to work 90% of the time. That was my only gripe with Engstrand, really. What else could you complain about? I thought they were pretty balanced. They called passing concepts past the line of scrimmage. They didn't just do check downs and dump offs and have a run game. They did enough to keep the defense honest. So that's the only thing I could think of on offense. I mean, maybe I'm forgetting something, but from an offensive philosophy, that's the only thing I can really think of. And they didn't go back to it. The next two goal line plays was a QB sneak and then the QB boot naked. Okay, cool. You score 32 points, you usually win 80% of the time. Yeah, sounds about right. Probably higher, right? 32. Is Brees back? Early indications are that he is. Yeah, we did get cooked on play action. You are right about that, UConn Jet. If Salah was here, the Jets would have lost this game 34-3. Yeah, did a Robert Saleh coach team ever score 32 points without a special? And also, the Jets got every possession started on their side of the 50. There was no pick six they got. There was no big kick return. I am willing to wager that a Robert Saleh coach team never scored 32 points on offense where every possession started on the negative side of the 50. I'm willing to bet that never happened once. So no. Did Smith play? Smith did not get a lot. Arian Smith did not get a lot of work on offense. When they went 11 personnel, it was pretty consistent. It was Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds, Arian Smith. They mixed in Ruckert, Mason Taylor, and Beck. Stone Smart and Arian Smith didn't really get much burn. Which again, I don't care. Like if Jeremy Ruckert is going to make his 2 catches every week and block, I don't care if he plays. Jelani Woods can sit on the bench. Mason Taylor can, come along slowly. I don't care. If Tyler Johnson's going to catch the passes that are thrown to him, Arian Smith can come along slowly. Who cares? The reason why I think I want to see AZ Thomas and Malachi Moore sooner is because there's veterans ahead of them that were horrendous in this game and have been bad for a couple of years. Membu got burned a couple times. Did he? What, against the run? I think it would have been apparent if he got burned as a pass blocker. I didn't really notice that, but it is a game I'll rewatch. Haven't rewatched a Jet game since I think the Houston Texans win last year was the last Jet game I completely rewatched every snap. But I want to see if I'm overreacting to Stevens. Let me see. Was it related to a couple of bad plays? Because I have a feeling maybe not. Yeah, Will McDonald is the beast. Stupid timeouts. Yeah, didn't really. I mean, sure. I just don't fumble the ball. I'm having a really hard time being like, if there was a pie chart of what I'm ticked off about, it's just that Xavier Gipson fumble is taking up like 90% of it. So I don't have enough bandwidth to get upset about other things where it's like, just don't fumble your kick return. Something like that, Sean. Something like that, man. If Gibson plays next week, we'll know the staff. Yeah, dude, I don't think you're overreacting. Stevens is going to start next week. Obviously, they gave him $25 million guaranteed. Let's see a Stevens bounce back, I guess. But with the Gibson, it's such an easy, seamless thing to do. It's returner. I don't care if Jamal Pritchett calls a fair catch every time. Like, just don't fumble. If we had more timeouts, Fields may have ran out on the final drive. Yeah, obviously you want more time. You want to not waste timeouts if you can avoid it. But I think if you rewatch that play, that 4th and 3, and I was screaming, run it. But somebody sent me a screenshot and it's like, there's guys right there. And when Fields throws it, Ramsey he's not even in the frame. Ramsey just made a great play. That's really what it came down to on that play. They have to limit Fields taking hits. Yeah, he got bent around and took some he took some shots for sure, and he was grabbing his hamstring at the end there. Both quarterbacks got beat up just in different ways. They're going to run him though; it's part of it. But there's running quarter like Jalen Daniels ran for 900 yards last year, and I don't think he missed a game. So there's ways you could do it. You got to be smart about it. Yeah, Will McDonald, that was really exciting to see him get a sack on pure power, just walking the tackle back into the QB because we know he has a spin, we know he has a speed, so that was nice to see a bull rush win. Michael Carter will be better than Stephens. Well, they're both, but he was out there too, right? So Michael Carter struggled as well, but Michael Carter has been good before, so I'm not going to freak out about a bad Michael Carter game. But yeah, pretty much everybody in the secondary besides Sauce. I don't think Sauce was amazing by any means, but he didn't give up. Like, when did he get beat? Unless I missed one. Any Jeff fan that wanted Rodgers to play great is not a Jeff fan. Well, look, I mean, when it comes to a lot of things, like if you'd rather your team like maybe lose the last game so you get a quarterback the next year, or you don't like this player, you like that player. I would say that a fair definition of a fan is that you're hoping that that team wins. So I think that's probably fair. But I mean, dude, it's been a 15, 16-year playoff drought. So if people are that broken to the point where they were hoping the Jets lost today, like, I'm sorry that's happening to you, but I'm not there quite yet. If the Bills lose tonight, it's like we restart the season 0-0. Yeah, that is true. But then I'll still just think we could have been 1-0 and could have been ahead of them. But you are right. You are right. Don't lose any ground. Let's discuss the positives. Yeah, I mean the entire offense. Who played bad on offense? I mean, yeah, I think the concern of having lack of separators, not named Garrett Wilson, showed itself a little bit, but it didn't prevent them from scoring points. And a lot of the penalty yardage was like, what was the penalty yardage? I mean, they had 74 yards of penalty yardage. The Stephens INT, or the Stephens DPI, and the Quincy Williams late hit. I mean, that's like what, more than half your penalty yardage right there. So offensively, it was pretty clean, man. 1 sack allowed, no turnovers, under 25 yards of offensive penalties accepted, no drops. Like, that's a clean offensive game. Offense did their job. I think even the special teams coverage units were pretty good. McCrary Ball was all over the place on special teams. And the defensive, like front 6 guys for the most part, I think were fine. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like individually, like if you were to tally up like more individual players on the Jets had good days than not. It's just the guys who had bad days really, cost a lot of points. Yeah, how about Will McDonald? We always want to be negative. It was an impressive effort, but dude, don't. Yes, you are 100% correct, dude. There was positives to take away from, but dude, aren't you sick of that being like the happy loser? I remember at the last week one, some guy was freaking out in my comments saying like the New York Jets played the great 49ers and they only lost by 4 field goals. First of all, like tallying up a 12-point loss that you only lost by 12 points when it was a 20-point lead until garbage time. And the Niners ended up being like a below 500 team, and I'm supposed to feel like I'm sick of I'm sick of being told that I should be happy that we lose. You know what I mean? Because if they win, we're ready to be positive. We're ready to be positive. So I don't think I'm a pessimist because you guys have never seen me when the Jets have a winning record. I'd be so positive, man. There's other fan bases, dude. The Steelers fans want to fire Mike Tomlin. And if you think, and I know, like you think, Jet fans toss Aaron Rodgers to the side, let him have 2 bad games in that city. They will be done with him so much quicker, and there will be no Steeler fan to Rodgers fan conversion to follow him to the next team and hope he destroys the Steelers. They won't do that. It's a unique us thing, right? Bills fans want to fire Sean McDermott all the time. They're going to be, dude, if the Bills lose this week 1, I will have coworkers talking about, oh my gosh, we got to fire our coach. I'm dead serious. They win the division for like every year for like 7 years in a row. I just want it to be okay for us to have expectations. So like, then you know what? Then let's be Buffalo. Let's be Buffalo. It's that simple. This game is over. It was a close game. It was a good opponent. There's some positive things to build on. Go beat the Bills at home. How about that? How about that? Is that a reasonable ask? Because if it's not, we're kind of screwed, man. You go 0-2 and it's kind of nighty-night in the NFL. So go find a way to upset the Bills. We did beat them in 2 years in a row with Zach Wilson. And then I think last year's Bills game at home was very similar to this game where the offense actually did play well. And it was like a phantom holding, a missed kick, all that. So really, we've played the Bills to 1 possession at the home game 3 years in a row. And then later in the year, it's like all of our offensive line is hurt and it's snowing and they blow us out. That's kind of how it's gone. So have those bounces go our way against the Bills, bring the same offense, fix a couple of things on defense, and then beat them. And then we're fine. If you beat the Bills, we're 100% fine. You got 2 Florida teams after that, split with them and be 2-2. That's how I'm kind of looking at it. Split with them and be 2-2. But you can't if you fall to 0-2 and you're 0-1 in your division, 0-2 in your conference, like you plug in. It seems early in the NFL, but if you plug in your numbers, like the chances of you making the playoffs if you go 0-2 or 1-1, it's a big switch. So man, let's beat the damn Bills, man. Let's beat the damn Bills. And then we can forget about this game forever. I'll be ecstatic if we beat the Bills. One body, one my. Let A-Rod try to play for the Jets. Allison, I appreciate the super chat. I'm not sure what your comment means. I don't know what that means. But you use it. $20 is a good super chat. I really appreciate it. But if you want to put another comment to explain what you mean, I'm not sure what you mean. But we'll see. Because if they won this game, then they probably would have like came out feeling themselves against the Bills and got trounced. But now maybe they'll have more urgency and they'll beat the Bills. Because if they beat the Bills, then we're feeling great. If you start off the season, you beat the Bills, then you can come back and say, well, hey, man, we beat the Bills and our 1 loss wasn't that bad. But you can't say, oh, our 2 losses weren't that bad, right? I don't know. The Bills are a very good team, but again, we've played them 3 years in a row at home. We've played them to 1 possession. 2 of those years, we have like a backup level quarterback. And the Bills game probably already started, right? Are they losing? No, damn it. one possession, 1 touchdown. Tyler Johnson, 17 rushing yards. Boo. Lame. What the heck? Did the Ravens turn it over? What's going on? Why haven't the Ravens had the ball yet? Super chat from Zach. Appreciate it, man. Agree on all fronts, but I wouldn't let a mediocre record at the end of the season sort of exceed expectations. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because what happens is it's like they kind of like look better and then we move the goalposts. So you're right. Ages winning that game could have carried us, man. Like, because if they won that game, they could have lost the next two, and then it's like, okay, beat Miami. So we could have had like 3 weeks of dopamine from like, and just like things like it's a 60-yard field goal, make it 62, make it 64. I'm like, that guy is going to make that kick, right? Boswell's a really good kicker. What else did you say? Expectations. I think we looked ahead of schedule. I know that's sad. I know, but isn't that kind of where we are? Yeah, you're 100% right. You're right. I think if you told us like a month ago, if you told us the exact outcome of that game, you wouldn't have signed for it because you'd rather just take your chances that you could win by hook or by crook. But I think if you told us the exact outcome of that game, like if you just explained it to us in a non-emotional way, unlike this, um, then we'd be like, okay, fair enough, right? That would have been our reaction. Like, cool, we scored points. But Aaron Glenn was very adamant in saying repeatedly that if you're going to cause us to lose games, you're not going to be on the field with us. So again, now that doesn't mean, of course, like, oh, Quincy Williams bad out of balance, he's going to bench Quincy Williams. Like, of course, like there's common sense built into it. But I do think on the names that I've said a million times in this stream, I do think there will be at least one change. And it's not to say that it's gonna that Jamal Pritchett is gonna resurrect the Jets from a 15-year playoff drought, but to do it again, like I don't. I mean, if you have bad brakes in your car, you change your bad brakes. Now, if someone says to you, "Oh, wow, you changed the brakes in your car, now you're going to be a millionaire and your whole life is on track," it's like, "No, dude, like you got squeaking brakes, you change them. It's just that simple." That's it. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of where we are. We got to meet the team where they're at. I don't know. Should watch Ian's video. I'm sure Ian was very optimistic. I don't know how he does it. Happy I'm not screaming to fire the coaching staff. No, and even the comment like they got out coach, it's like, okay. I mean, again, Mike Tomlin is obviously a better coach than Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn, this was his first game as a head coach. Mike Tomlin's, a very, maybe you don't think he's great. He's at worst a very good, competent NFL head coach who's done it for years and years and years. But this game doesn't have the sniff test of you were out coached. I've seen those games. This game that wasn't my takeaway from this game. That you got out coached. Because both teams' offensive staff out coached the other team's defensive staff. Did who's the Steelers defensive coordinator? Terrell Austin. Did Terrell Austin outcoach Tanner Engstrand in this game? I didn't see any evidence of that. You can make a case that Arthur Smith outcoached Steve Wilks and tangentially Aaron Glenn on defense. But the same thing with Coach Glenn, like he gets credit for the offensive game plan being good because he's the head coach and it's his responsibility to fix the defense now too. That's how head coach works. Well, I'll leave it there. Appreciate you guys hanging out. If you wanted a thumbs up on your way out, that'd be cool. And we'll talk to you soon.